Just setting up the stream here now. If anybody jumps in, say hello. This is my first stream here. So trying out to stream, hopefully it's gonna work. If you the only one watching, let me know in the comments. But in this video I want to talk about dealing with rejections and failure when learning to code, and it's just the reality of the situation. You might be putting a lot of work into learning something, you get excited, you get to go to your first interview, and it's nothing but failure and rejection. Hey, we got someone here. We got Paul. Hey, my name is Paul too. You're already the best viewer here because this is your first time being on the live stream. My first live stream here. So, and you have the best name ever. And I don't know why I'm typing, because you guys could hear me talk. Let me know if actually you do hear me talk. Just say, yes, I hear you talking. You're not making any sense. You could say that too. So, Paul, like literally, I should probably have a prize for you because you're the first ever to be on Coding After 30 live stream. So I thank you. And if you don't want to stick around, that's fine too. This is my first stream ever. Let me know what you guys want to talk about, or the theme that I had for today's live stream is talking about difficulties and rejection when learning to code. And that's where we're going to start from today. So here you go. All right, let me just switch to a better camera so you guys could see me better. Just bear with me. I'm still learning the ropes. Let me know if you guys watch any of my other videos. Hey, I know Logic's Indie. I hope I pronounced it. You make some cool stuff. That is awesome, and definitely greetings. So I don't know, can you see me on the big camera? I'm like fumbling my microphone, doing all this weird stuff. By the way, if I look to the side, it's because I want to see your comments. So how's everybody doing tonight? How you guys doing? Look, this is the world record on the first stream ever at Coding After 30. We have 4 or 5 viewers. That is the ultimate record. We all get a prize, I guess. So I was going to talk about the idea of failure and rejection when you first start learning to code, regardless if you're younger or older. That's something we all face. But let me know in the comments any things you guys want to talk about, some ideas, some topics. Let me know where you're from, how long you guys have been coding, or you know, if you're just starting out, what kind of programming you're doing, what you're looking for. I'd love to learn more about you guys, you know. And while I wait for the comments, drinking some coffee. Man, 6 viewers. Yes. You know, this is how you start. Everybody starts one step at a time, you know. That's how we do it here at Coding After 30. I guess, you know, I made a practice stream and I was just like, man, probably nobody is going to tune in. And I realized no matter who you are, no matter where you're from, that's usually how things start. They start by taking your first step. And so those of you who are looking to switch careers into web development or programming, or you're a young kid and this is what you always wanted to do, you're still starting from your first step. And that's, to me, is exciting because no matter where you are, you know, if you put in the work, you're gonna get to where you're going. So again, if you guys want to give me any suggestions in the comments what to talk about, you know, I will definitely go off your comments. And if there's no suggestions, I'm going to continue talking about rejection and failure in coding, because sometimes, right, you work hard, you try your best, you put your best foot forward, you go to an interview and you get rejected. And that is a terrible feeling, but it's the reality, right? There's a lot of competition out there. There's a lot of people trying to get the same job you're trying to get. And it's just very tough and hard. And one of the reasons why I bring it up is because I just got rejected from something, a place where I applied. And I think I have a feeling why I got rejected, because some of these bigger companies, by the way, is when you send a resume, they basically have a machine, the machine that reads and it looks for certain keywords. And I'm not going to say what company I applied for. That's irrelevant, but I'm just going to say it's one of the bigger companies. I mean, there's a bunch of big companies, but I'm pretty sure that a real person did not look at my resume. And I kind of expected that would be the case, and I knew that that was going to happen. So I was not surprised that I got rejected, especially because I kind of purposely did not put certain things, because I was like, oh man, these are the keywords that they're going to watch out for. These are the things they're going to look for. And sure enough, I got a rejection letter, which I didn't want to get, even though I kind of knew I was going to get it, and it totally felt bad. And this brings me to this idea is just sending out your resume and you don't have a good pedigree, like you went to a great school, it's going to be very tough to break through. Let me look at the comments though in the meantime here. Wow, look at that. Chat is going. I love it. It's doing amazing. So let's see here. Let's see. Paul's been coding since he was a teenager. I've been blah, blah, blah. Okay, several years, but would pivot into web. Nice. Awesome, Paul. Let's see. Okay, Logix has started to working on a team. How has been my experience working on a team? I will talk about that in just a second. Let me just jump through all the comments here. Let's see, Jack. Say that. Man, Jack, exactly. Your comment, man, it hits close to home. It's almost like my story here. And it's exactly that. When you start something, and sometimes just take time, sometimes, especially if you're a self-taught developer, you're not sure what is the right thing to learn. So you meander up and down, trying to do everything you can to become a better developer. And it's just normal. I started, I'm not going to tell you when I started because I don't want to make myself cry. It's been a long, tough journey for me, and I'm still learning. Let me just get to the comments, then I'll go back to Logic, talk about what's working on the team. Man, UK, nice. Man, that's awesome. Python web developer. I like Python. It's I want to learn every language. If I were to learn another language, Python would be it. And I think I am going to learn it eventually. That is awesome. Yeah, I'm doing great. Everybody's doing it. Hamza, thank you so much. Yes, Paul. It feels super terrible being rejected by the algorithm. But let me come back to Logic's thing. Working on a team, how's my experience been? I think that's one of the, when you work by yourself, you kind of get used to the workflow. When you work on a team, it's basically a lot of people count on you. And you not only have to carry yourself through being able to do the work, but you also have to allow your teammates to count on you. And if you're a brand new person, like the company that I started working in, that's pretty small. And so when you make mistakes, the team will notice. And you'd like to think that everybody on the team is a nice person. And I'm sure they are, but people do get aggravated. And people will, be like, but this guy, didn't do his thing he was supposed to do. So when you're brand new, you'll have few people on your team that want to help you out. And unfortunately, sometimes you have people on the team that just don't want to give you any help. There's one guy, no matter what question I ask, he literally doesn't talk to me. And I'm hoping that, Logix, you have a better experience at your job than I did. But that's part of the grind. It's part of getting through, breaking in and working on a team. But what I would say about the team, understanding this idea that you have your managers, you have your boss, and you have to know who do you answer to. You have to know who are your immediate people that you work with, and make sure that you have open communication with them. And having soft skills, being able to talk to people, is actually really, really important. And just being able to work with people in a way that if there's a conflict, you're able to resolve it through without getting overly emotional, which is sometimes hard for people. Yeah, so let me look at the comments again. Yeah, Redux is unbelievably tough. So my tip on Redux, so I remember when I'm a React developer. When I started learning React, before I even understood React, my friends started teaching me Redux. And that made my head explode. I didn't learn anything. I didn't understand it. Unless you get good concept and understanding of React and state management becomes an issue. And a while back when I started, when we were doing things with classes and stuff like that, they didn't have the use context hook like React has now. Managing state was difficult, so you had to kind of use Redux. Nowadays, you could kind of get away and not do too much Redux. So basically, like the way I would put it, it's if you don't know you need to use Redux, don't use Redux. I mean, use context and the use hooks, everything in new React now with all the functional components, you could get really, really far without learning Redux. And I'll give you this example. At my company, we started working and our code had Redux, but then we refactored the code out and ended up just using the normal context that comes with React. And that solved all of our issues, so it was not a problem. So yeah, that's awesome. So talking about failure, yeah, it sucks failing. And this brings up to this idea, like, where does networking sit when you're looking to get a job? Because a lot of times, I'll be honest with you, when you go to get a job and you're just trying to get a job based on your resume, and if your resume is not that strong, you're probably hoping to get a job with your portfolio. And if your portfolio is not that strong, it becomes very, very, very difficult. And a lot of times people won't even give you the time of day because they don't know you. And so something new I started doing is working with recruiters because some people have good feelings, some people have bad feelings, but at the end of the day, their job is to get you a job. So if you haven't started working with recruiters, that's something I just started to do, and so far it's been a positive experience. I'm getting a lot more opportunities. And one thing about a recruiter that I would say that you yourself can't do is that you have another person to speak on your behalf, and they might know people in the company, so they could get past the gatekeeper and put your name in front of the right people that could give you a chance or at least give you an interview. So let me look at the chat. Okay, nice. Yeah, context API is good. Yeah, keep the chat going, guys. Ask me whatever you guys like, because this is my first live stream. I'm so appreciative of all of you guys being here. It actually means a lot to me. I didn't think I was going to get such a positive, turnout. Like, thank you guys so much. It just really means a lot to me. It means that, like, the stuff I talk about hopefully is helping you guys, because I am some random guy on the internet, but I do want to keep an honest conversation talking about, what it's like to really learn to code and the struggle that it comes here. But coming back to this point of, a lot of times people are not going to give you the face, they're not going to talk to you because they don't know who you are. You might not have a referral, so you don't have a good resume, maybe because you're just starting out. If you don't have a good portfolio, the idea of networking and meeting people is super important. I originally come from, I used to have my own business. I used to teach Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So part of that was literally selling memberships to new students coming in. So talking and asking for referrals and being like, hey, do you have a friend that like this? Like, some people look at it as like a bad way, but I look at it as building relationships. If people like you, they're going to give you a chance. So if you're not networking on LinkedIn, depending where you live, I don't know what avenues you have. And I know with the pandemic going on, it's very hard to physically go somewhere. But finding social places where you could meet up with people and chat with people to put your name out there is super important. And I'll tell you the story why. So I have this friend, Jeff, that I went to college with. And so he went one way, I went the other way, but we still stayed friends for a very long time. And early on in my journey, like, I think this was like 4 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, I don't remember. Like, he's already a senior developer, he does React, and I'm still teaching Jiu-Jitsu. And one of my students in Jiu-Jitsu, this guy, David, he's like, he knows that I'm learning to code, like, because I talk about learning to code. Like, you should always be telling people, hey, you want me to make a website for you? Let me make your website, even if it's WordPress. You always have to tell people what you do, even if you're just starting out, because you want to put it out there. You want people to know, kind of like, hey, this guy's a developer. So anyway, I'm talking to David, 3-4 years ago, and he knows I'm learning to code. Back then, I was really into WordPress, and he's like, hey, Paul, like, I know you're into code. And by the way, he right away knew that in terms of like what I knew, I couldn't help him. Like, I didn't know React at the time. That's what they were looking to do. I didn't know enough development stuff because I was just starting out. So he knew that I couldn't help him, but because I talked about development, he goes like, hey, Paul, do you know anybody like your friend who's a developer? I'm working on this project and I need another set of eyes. So I introduced 3.5, 4 years ago, my friend Jeff to David, and, you know, their relationship took off. Jeff's been working for them for a while now. I don't actually remember exactly how long. That's why boxing is bad for you guys. Don't get punched in the head. But it's definitely like 2, 3, 4 years ago. But anyway, the point being is Jeff started working for him. I continued my learning. The other week, I get a phone call from Jeff. And Jeff's like, hey, listen, we're working on this other project. I know that now you're working as a React developer. And remember, David was actually asking about you and wanted to know if you would be able to come on and do some work, contract-based, on the app. And I was like, of course, I'm in. And what an amazing opportunity. But here's the magic of this story is that I started this conversation 3 years ago by letting someone know that I'm a web developer and I'm looking to learn. I didn't have the skills that were required, but because I stayed connected with David and Jeff, yeah, 3 years passed by, whatever, I'll take it. That conversation turned into a real opportunity, and now I'm going to benefit from it financially. And so the point is, the more you talk, the more you self-promote yourself, the better chance you get. I know a lot of people like feel like you shouldn't talk about yourself, but hey, it's basic sales. If you have some value and you want to provide it to somebody else, you need to talk about it. There's nothing wrong with it. Like, I'm promoting myself on YouTube and I'm trying to bring this positive energy and value to you guys. I'm not, and if you like what I have to offer, and because I'm loud on the internet, you guys be like, hey, let's check this guy out. Let me jump in and look at the comments here. This is fantastic. So, Hamza, and I'm sorry if I mess up your name, Muhammad. Yes, I also like contacts, and believe it or not, I totally get it. And I see like people do use Redux, and I think the reason for that in some cases is that they already have a code base that they built and they're already committed to Redux. And yes, for complex data structures, contacts is not going to be the best choice, and that's where Redux comes in. But what I would say, if you're starting out as a junior developer, I think they'll be understanding, and that's something you could learn on the job. And if you already know React and you know contacts, then by all means learn Redux. I'm just saying, don't learn Redux unless you know React and contacts and you're familiar with it. But yeah, definitely a good point. Yep, talking more about context. Nice. So yeah, Hamza, a lot of great points here. I see a lot of people getting hired. They don't even have good projects, but they just go to boot camp. Okay, so I talked to my sister's friend, Melissa, and that's how I got interested in recruiters. Also, like, I watched this other channel, Code Foundry. If you guys seen them, awesome. If you didn't, go check them out. They have a boot camp. But when I talked to Melissa, I asked her, I was like, so how was your experience with the boot camp? She was, it was great. I had fun. By the way, a lot of people have mixed, opinions about boot camp, so I don't know who to trust anymore. But Melissa, she's my sister's friend. I personally didn't go to a boot camp, and she went to a boot camp. And I asked her, does she have a portfolio? And I was shocked because she said, no, I do not. I was like, how can you not have a portfolio? To me, that's my bread and butter to get my next job, but she didn't. And so when I talked to her, her boot camp, they had a close relationship with a bunch of recruiters, and they were getting people into internships. Yes, they were paid internships. They weren't making that much money, but they had a relationship where they were getting people into these internships after the boot camp. So she was able to get hired to this internship without a portfolio, work there for 6 months, get her experience up, and then transition. And I think it's a combination of the boot camp and the relationship it has with people around that are recruiters or businesses, that they made a deal where they're like, hey, if we have graduates that graduate from here, would you consider them to work. And that comes to this idea of networking. It's like a boot camp made a relationship with like a hiring manager or a recruiter, and they're kind of helping each other out. Hey, we'll give you these guys from our boot camp. You don't have to pay them as much to start, and it kind of works both ways. So I think that's why there's people that get jobs from boot camps easier without projects. But I don't know how common that is, to be honest with you. I would assume you still have to pass the interview, which we could talk about in a minute. And you should, and people do ask for your portfolio. The one recruiter I worked with, he talked to me and he's like, hey, do you have a portfolio? I know some people do, some people don't. So I guess there are people that don't have portfolios that get jobs. Let me move down the comments here. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard finding jobs. I get rejected a lot of times. Like even with my experience, I never went to college, or I guess I never graduated from college. I did go until I dropped out, and I didn't go to boot camp. So I'm a self-taught developer, and it is hard. And I'm going to say going even on virtual boot camp, not boot camps, virtual meetups, and starting to introduce people and trying to like meet people on LinkedIn, your best bet, to be honest, is going to be making friends with someone who has a friend who knows like a hiring manager, or you could get a referral from. I hate to say it like this, but it is a lot about who you know. And it's unfortunate, but if you know somebody that could help you, that is definitely a faster way than just sending out your resumes and doing what we call like cold calling in sales. Nobody likes cold calling in sales. It's very terrible. It's much easier if you have like pre-qualified leads that kind of expect you to sell them to. And it's very similar in getting jobs. Let's move down here on the comments. Yeah, Paul, definitely true about, applying to junior dev jobs and finding candidates with CS degrees with amazing portfolios, or applying to, Facebook, Amazon, Google. This is what I'm going to tell you though. Like I totally get it. It is a struggle, but those guys, they are applying to jobs, and because they went to a good school, they have good grades to back it up, they're looking to get high-paying jobs right off the start. And so, yes, it's true, depending what companies you're applying, but there's plenty of smaller companies that these FANG graduates would never consider applying to because, their egos are too big. I'm just kidding. Maybe their egos are not that big. But I'm just saying they will not apply to certain places because they're just... no, they're not going to get the money they want. It's like, I went to MIT, like I'm not going to apply to a smaller company. I'm going to go straight to Google or whatever it is, And so like, yes, it's true, but I would say that there are plenty of smaller companies, and yes, you're not going to make as much, but after a year, you could or 6 months, you could get another job. And again, this is exactly the struggle I'm in. My first company that I started working on, I literally did it for experience to open up more opportunities. Let's check out some comments here. Hey, greetings from Argentina. What's up? Oh, thank you for the love for the channel. Hey, I love all of you guys being here with me tonight. This is amazing. Thank you again. I'm still I can't believe it. All the support that I'm getting from all of you guys means so much to me. Hey, Adrian, what's up? I just realized that I know Adrian from an email he sent me. Fantastic. I'm just so slow at realizing things. Yeah, so I do have a Slack channel that I started, and I'm gonna throw my email here. If you guys wanna join the Slack channel, just send me an email. It's not super active yet, but I'm trying to change it. So it's codingafter30@gmail.com. So we have a Slack channel. So if you want a little support or have a more direct way to talk to me, definitely check it out, and you could help other people around there. So that's awesome. Let's see here. Yes, I'm gonna save this stream for sure, so you guys could watch it whenever you like. Also, I think this turnout is so awesome. I'm definitely going to save it because I'm proud of you guys and I'm proud of myself. This is amazing. And let's see, which comments did I miss? I'm glad that I have not that many people here too, because it's actually hard trying to keep up with all the comments. I totally could understand why some of these streamers miss stuff like this. Oh, hey, like Adrian from Coding Phase, that's where you met me and discovered me. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I try to like leave comments that add value. Coding Phase is awesome. You know, he's working hard, doing his thing. You know, we have difference in opinions in terms of but he has some good stuff. I really like, the one thing that I like about him is that he tells you, don't wait to get a job. You might not get a web developer job, but you could get a job writing HTML emails. And sometimes that's how you start, you know. And listen, I would totally do that, by the way. If I was just starting out, I would just keep like going down and down the list of like any job that will allow me to get something coding related. My first coding internship was working for a marketing company which worked with WordPress. And my job was not even doing too much HTML and CSS. It was literally getting content from the writer and putting it into WordPress. Like zero coding. But at least I then would talk to them like, hey, if you guys doing new WordPress sites, can I jump in? Because I do know some HTML and CSS. And they're like, oh, sure, you could help out. And so I started doing basic edits with HTML in WordPress, and then so on and so on, and that kind of grew into another thing. So definitely don't worry whatever company you get hired with, you could try to either find opportunities in that company, and if you can't, just get your 6 months and look to move on to something else. Okay, let's see here. Comments. Man, Adrian Diaz, portfolio and resume. My portfolio and resume also still needs work. And that's why I'm glad that we connected, because we could work on it together. I could show you what I'm doing. You could share with me what you're doing, and we could all help each other out. Let's see. Okay. So Adrian, I think interviewing process is different whatever companies you apply to. So, and again, this idea of networking and knowing people, like my first job, the real job, the job that I'm working now, I did get lucky because I was referred by someone who worked in that company, and the expectation was set that I knew what I was talking about. So when I came into the interview, I was asked a lot of React questions that related to the project that they were already working, and they wanted to hear my feedback and opinion. But you know, I guess the guy who was, because I got interviewed by the owner, that's one benefit of the smaller company. If the owner likes you, he likes you. And so based on the answers I gave him, he's like, hey, I like you, have you start Monday. And that's the benefit, I think, of smaller companies, where you get to speak to the owner. If you present yourself in a positive way and very likable, that does add to their ability to be like, hey, maybe he's not exactly who I was looking for, but you know what? He seems like he could learn things. We're going to hire him and give him a chance. And that's like one way to do it with like smaller companies and stuff like that. Is definitely good. I know there's some companies, I took a interview, they give you an hour and they're like, hey, here's the thing, we need you to code this mini application, and they watch you do it, and they'll put a timer on, and they'll say like you could use Google or whatever you want if you need help, and then after the hour is done, it's a hard stop, and that's it. Then they'll ask you some follow-up questions, and then you just go home, and then you like pray. You're like, oh, I hope I get, and you know, those are tough. Not only tough from the standpoint that you need to know the code that you're writing and be comfortable, but another thing that those interviews don't take account, or maybe they do, is that not a lot of people perform well in an interview setting. Like right now, I'm talking to you very confidently. That's because I have 25 years of teaching martial arts to people. That means like I talked for 25 years of my life at my job. But when I first started out, I never felt comfortable like this. I would be like very quiet, very timid, and like not be able. But now I could talk to anybody. And that's 25 years of experience. Like when someone says to me, "You're so natural at talking," I'm not. It was skill that I developed. And it's the same thing with interviewing. A lot of times you go And it's not only this ability of being able to answer the questions and to be able to code, it's to not be nervous enough to a point where you freak out. And I'm comfortable talking to you guys. When I go to an interview, I am nervous. I am sweating. I'm forgetting certain things. And you know what? I just have to keep interviewing, and same thing for you guys. So every time you get rejected, and that's kind of like, we're kind of all over the place. We bring it back, getting rejected and failure. But every time you get rejected at an interview, it's okay. It just means that you're one step closer to learning something that maybe you didn't do as well, that you could improve for the next interview. So one thing that I do, and sometimes it's hard to do, but you should still try to do this. Let's say I go to an interview and they're like, Paul, you're not qualified for this position. I'm sorry, they're not able to hire. Or they send you an email. A lot of times it's an email and it's terrible. What you should do is send them an email, or if they tell you in person on the phone, be like, hey, I totally understand. And then you say this, but before I go, do you mind telling me what did I do that prevented me from getting this job? Like, what areas should I improve in? And then you just wait. And you wait for them to tell you. And some people might be jerks. They're not going to tell you. But a lot of people will. They'll tell you, you know what? We felt that you were really good at your CSS, but your JavaScript was not on par. We felt that your JavaScript needed some improvement. And you're like, wow, thank you. And you could be like, follow up. Hey, exactly what part of JavaScript code that I was working on that you thought that? And you kind of start probing. And with every interview, if you ask this question, what can I do better? Like, ask the people that interview you before you leave, you will start to improve 1% at a time, 1% at a time. By the way, you're also going to these interviews. Yes, you're getting rejected, but you're practicing. You're practicing. You're getting into the groove. You're getting the nervousness out of your system. Every interview to this day I still go to, I still get nervous, but I am getting better. And it's perfectly normal. So keep it up, keep applying, and we'll go from there. Let me look at the comments here. How are we doing here? Hey, Adrian, thanks for the 3 Udemy courses limit advice from one of our videos. Yeah, so when you're taking courses online, like my library, I have 2 accounts in Udemy. I have all like 500 courses in one. Probably not 500, but between the 2, like you know what? I'll look it up. It's not 500. 500 would be ridiculous. That's like $5,000 in in courses that I bought. I definitely spent, I'm not saying you guys do that, but I had this addiction of buying courses for no reason on Udemy, thinking that they're going to help me out to get better at programming coding. So I definitely have 200 plus courses between 2 accounts for sure. That's a lot of money, a lot of $10 courses that I bought. So when you're taking a course on Udemy, what you need to understand, let's say you want to learn HTML, CSS, and JavaScript and React. You only need to take 1 HTML and CSS course. You only need to take 1 JavaScript course, and you only need to take 1 React course. That's like $35. And after you took many courses like I did on Udemy, you will find a pattern, and you will see that 80% of courses, I'm not making this up, I could show it to you, cover the same material as the first initial course you did. Maybe the only benefit that I would say taking multiple courses would be you get a perspective from another person. But in terms of like the knowledge that you get, it's not the fact that you take 1 course, you take another course, you take another course. No, it's just take 1 course and learn 80% of that course and then build something. So if I did just finish HTML and CSS course, I'm not going on to any other courses. I'm building a project from the things that I learned. And if you get lost, of course, you could refer back to the course. You could also refer to Google and Stack Overflow. So you don't need a lot of courses. It's gonna, like, I want to eventually sell courses, and this advice is gonna hurt me from selling a lot of courses, because the truth is, like, you don't need a lot of courses. When you go to college every year, you have 1 course, math level 1. Next year, you don't take another math level 1 course and then another math level 1 course. No, you take math level 2 or calculus or whatever it is. And it's the same thing with what you need to do with your coding to progress. But on Udemy, majority of courses are for beginners, which is nothing wrong with that. And the reason why there's majority courses for beginners is because there's a lot of beginners out there. They're looking to get started, and they're the easiest people to help by providing value to courses, and they're easier to sell to because they're just starting out and there's a lot of them. There's a big pool of people. So that's why most of the courses, they are beginner, 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 beginner. Yes, man, Adrian, smash the like button, guys, please, to help the algorithm. Man, if you could smash it 1,000 times, it'll be perfect. It'll be excellent. Yeah, I always forget to promote myself like that on YouTube. Smash that. I got to get into like this idea. Smash the like button. That's a good one. I got to remember that. I do it sometimes, but not all the time. Let me look at the comments here. By the way, guys, thank all of you. Guys, thank you so much for jumping on the stream. I will, you know, because I got such a good response, I'm going to commit to doing Friday night live streams. Probably around this time. It's 12 a.m. Where I live, which is perfectly fine. No big deal. And we'll figure it out with time. So maybe do it a little bit earlier, like 11, but whatever. Let's see here. Yeah, thank you guys so much. Yeah, definitely big companies will have a different interviewing process than smaller companies. And big companies definitely like throws algorithms and data structures at you. And yes, you don't use those algorithm data structures on your day-to-day job. I've worked at my company for a year. There's one time I remember, it was a very brief time where I had to think about data structures. And then the senior developer, he just explained it to me. I was like, oh, great. I know how this works now. I could implement it. But yeah, that's totally true. Yeah, Paul, I totally agree with those timed interviews. Buys for the CS guys, for sure. And competitive programming experience, which I would not do competitive programming experience. That's such a niche thing. Like for regular folks, for regular people, like it's, you know, like let me just back up a little bit, break it down. If you're a young kid and you live in a place where education is freely like available, maybe like, or your parents are paying for it, or if you pay for it, and or you got a scholarship and you're young, like, you know, 18, 19, 20, 20, even 25, even 30, I would probably like think about maybe you could get a computer science degree, especially if it's not gonna, like, if someone else is paying for it, or if you pay for it, fine too. Like if you're younger, going to college is great, because even if you don't go for a computer science degree, just go to college for experience, to have fun, make friends, make connections. Now, the problem arises when you're like, kind of like me. Like I started to code seriously when I was 35. I just paid off my debt, right? I had debt all my life, just stupidity on my part. I just paid off a debt. So I'm debt free, I'm 35, and I'm like, man, I'm going to go self-taught route because first of all, I believe that I could do it. And you can't, because I did get my first job eventually. But also I couldn't justify the time commitment doing a 4-year degree at 35, and the, you know, schools in US, they're expensive. It literally, the return on investment, I was like, man, like I really, you know, to go to debt $80,000, you know, for 4 years, $80,000. I could buy like a house for that much money. So it wasn't worth it for me in that sense. So as you get older, you start to really think about it. Do I really need a bachelor's degree? If you're younger, no brainer, go to school, unless you just don't want to for some reason. And it's not just the fact that you're going to get a bachelor's degree, which big companies really want to see, but you're going to have fun. You're going to do stuff with friends. You're going to make connections. Now, if you're older, then you have to kind of think about coding bootcamp, self-taught. You know, coding bootcamp, like some will go for like between $15,000 to $20,000. Yes, that's a lot of money, but it's a lot easier pill to swallow than $80,000. And then the time commitment is not as much. But please, you know, if you're going to think about boot camp, do your research. There's plenty of bad boot camps, and I hear there are some good ones. Like one of my sister's friends graduated. She had a positive experience. And so I've never graduated from one, so I can't tell you exactly, but I hear from both sides. Good, boot camp's good, boot camp's terrible, don't waste your money. Self-taught, right, it has its own problems. Like I started learning to code in my 30s. Like I was 30 something. I started to like 31, but I started with Ruby. I started with Python. I started with C++. I started with C Sharp. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. All the resources I was looking for, like, I had no idea what job they were even going to get me. And for 5 years, I meandered around lost. And I basically, in that span from 31 to 35, I learned a lot about nothing. And that's the biggest problem with being a self-taught developer, is that there's no self-direction of where to go. You don't know where to go. And so, like, finding someone like a friend, someone in a family, or someone online who's a developer and could give you kind of like some advice of what to do becomes very important. And that's why I tell people who learning to code, like, my path was this. I was like at 35, my friend like smacked me on top of the head and he was like, hey, bro, you're never going to get a job doing this. This is what you got to do. Look up and see what is in demand right now. And it was React. And he goes, this is what you're going to do. You're going to study JavaScript, just enough JavaScript to start learning React. Just enough HTML and CSS that you could start working with React. And if you get stuck in React, go back and learn more JavaScript, learn a little bit more CSS, and then go back to React. And so I had a laser focus like this. Just React, just JavaScript, just React, just JavaScript, until he said, keep doing that until you get your job. A lot of people make the same mistake I did, is they try to learn everything. You can't. Start narrow, get a job, and then spread out. Then you could do whatever you want. Then you could learn, anything your heart desires. But at the beginning, especially if you're older, you got to be focused. And so that's the path I chose. I know I was talking about boot camps, self-taught, the difficulties, when to go to college, when not to go to college. Let me jump back, look at the comments. Yeah, leave comments, guys. I see we got 15 people out here. Thank you guys, by the way. Very awesome. Really appreciate it. They looked weird. Yes, thumb like it. But anyway, super awesome. And definitely if you like, definitely spread the love. And leave comments, ask questions. I'm here not to just give you my opinion. I'm here to learn more about you guys, answer questions. So let's look at the comments. All right, so Logic's here. Do you think it's better to have your first role in a startup or a more established company? To be honest with you, when I was looking for jobs, I felt like I would not be able to get a job at an established company with my experience. And literally, I kind of targeted more the startup companies and the smaller companies to get my foot in the door. So I think, whatever company you get hired by, you will get great experience. But from my experience, like looking for jobs, I think startups, smaller companies were easier to apply to in my just experience. And the bigger companies were the ones that were rejecting me more. Maybe now with my experience, it'll be much easier. But that's something to definitely, keep in mind. But I think it doesn't matter what company you get hired your first year. You're just going there for experience. You're just going there to be able to have, like, when you apply for your next job, be like, hey, I worked as a software engineer for 1 year at this company. That's basically what you're getting from your first job, because very seldomly, especially if you're a self-taught developer coming from boot camp and don't have the pedigree like someone with a CS degree with good grades, with amazing portfolio has, you're not gonna get that huge job making like $100,000 a year. It's very rare your first year for regular folks, and I like to think of myself like a regular person. But that's just the way things are. Let's look at the comments. Man, I'm so bad with reading names. Otho Leisure, thank you for all your support. And I'm glad that you like the content that I do here. Yes, I'm employed. I've been working at my company for a year now. I work as a React developer. By the way, I talked a little bit about the struggle of getting hired. I will save the stream for later viewing, guys. So definitely check out the beginning of it. for sure, and I'll talk more about that. But yes, I am employed currently, and I'm in the process of trying to find another opportunity because the company I've been with for a year. So here's another thing. Like, that was a great question. Am I employed? Yes. When you're starting out, and this is not just tech companies, but this is majority companies. I'm not sure how it is when you live in different countries, but in US, like before, it was the common norm to work at a company for 25 years and you get a good retirement plan, you get a good severance package. But nowadays, like that's not the thing. Now, if you work at a company long, like for a while, the promotion within the company is slow. When I used to work at an insurance company, and then I'll come back with the coding company, but just to let you know that this is like everywhere. I worked at an insurance company. My company, if you stay there for 3 years, your pay raise was going to be less if I just started in that same company, worked there for 6 months, left to their competitor, worked there for 6 months, and then came back 6 months later. They would start me at a higher rate than someone who never left. That's ridiculous, and that's messed up. And that's why a lot of people wondering why are good people leaving companies. It's because they find better opportunity. But yeah, if you're starting out, as soon as you put in your year, as soon as you feel like you're ready to start looking, find another opportunity. Your bump in pay raise is going to be much higher, for sure. For sure. And that's what everybody's been telling me. All my friends who work at these companies, senior developers, like mid-level developers, that's how they get the biggest raise, is that they just move on to a different company and then come back or move on somewhere else. Let's look at the comments here. Leaf, what's up? Us. Man, good to see you, buddy. Man, Argentina University is 100 free, but even the most people want to take the shortcut and not go to the university. Yeah, if your school is free, definitely go if you're able to. You know, like I would totally do that. If we had free colleges in US, I would have gone just for the fun and meet girls. I mean, I'm at a point now that I don't do that anymore because, you know, I've been married once and now I have a wonderful fiance and I'm gonna get married again. So like I'm too old to party, but definitely take advantage of colleges for the education and the social connection making. Let's move on here. Let's see here. Nice. So do I think jobs are affected by the pandemic? For sure. Like it affects in some way. I'm not sure if it's okay, it's definitely going to affect some jobs in a negative way and some jobs in a positive way. I think being a developer, being a programmer, it's not going to affect them in a negative way as much as something else like a restaurant or what I did before being a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu instructor. So I think if you're learning programming, and that's the reason why I switched to programming, and luckily it worked out, is this idea to be able to work remotely. And now it's like a must, like especially with this pandemic. So let me like tell you another story because I love telling stories. So I left my job 2 years ago and I quit because I wanted to spend more time coding. So I would spend most of my day coding, and then by night I would work at a supermarket, like delivering groceries, which, you know, people be like, why would you work at a grocery shop? Well, I had bills to pay and I wanted to work part-time. So I took a pay cut from my previous job. I worked at a grocery store and I studied for a year. Really like make sure I studied React. And then I left to see my fiance in Thailand to visit her. And when I came back that January of last year, I had a job interview. And I got hired that following Monday. And 2 months later, everything was closed down. Everything was, you know, because of the pandemic was closed down. My company switched from working in the office to working remote. So because I got this job as a developer and because my company switched to remote, I kept my job. I did not foresee that, you know, pandemic was going to happen, and but just by luck, by sheer stupid luck, I was able to stay employed. If I stayed in my last company, I would have been unemployed. Probably until to this day. And so, yeah, I think the pandemic is going to affect a lot of different jobs, a lot of different places. But if you're a developer, you will always have more opportunities, especially the better you get. And you will have opportunity to work remote. Now, with that being said, becoming a developer is really hard. Don't believe the hype. I know I said a lot in my videos. It's not easy. It's super hard. Like, you're banging your head against the keyboard like this for like day and night. And the problem with programming is that if you think you're going to learn a skill and then stop and then have a job, that's not how it works. You're constantly learning every day, new things every day. Like, doesn't matter who you are. You're going to keep learning daily. And that's why this is hard. So a lot of people, they want to switch jobs. They want to make more money. Totally. That's why what I want to do. But you have to understand, if regardless if it's boot camp, self-taught, or college, if you're starting from the beginning, it's going to be an uphill battle, and it's going to be a lot of hard work. You have to think about, why do people make hundreds of thousands of dollars as a programmer versus being a waiter, let's say at McDonald's or some restaurant? Why do they make $10 an hour or $7 an hour or whatever, $5 an hour, whatever it is because as a programmer, you have to create that high value output that allows a company to pay you. So if a company is paying you $100,000, that means they're making maybe $500,000 off of you. And to make that output, you actually need to know what you're doing, and to get that knowledge is hard. Like some like top paying programmers, they make the same as doctors do, and doctors go to school forever. So it's very important not to forget that it's a skill that anybody could learn. Well, I shouldn't say anybody, because like, there's certain things you should be comfortable with, like sitting at a desk and staring at code forever and solving problems and stuff like that. So whatever, we could talk about that later, but the point is, it takes time, it's hard, and as soon as you understand that and kind of what I call like struggle through the suffering and make it part of your life, like, you will get there. But nobody likes to suffer. Nobody likes the pain that comes with struggle. But that's kind of what you have to do learning to code. Like, the more I learn, the more I realize, the less I know, and the more I have to learn. And I struggle every day. I make mistakes all the time. And you'll see when I start doing some of these coding live streams, like, you'll see that, like, even I sometimes have to look stuff up like every other normal person. So the struggle is real. Let's look at the comments here. Go back. Yeah, Paul, I'd love to hear more about like your experience. Definitely interesting. You had a job prior, and then when you switched to a bigger company, and looking for a senior dev or CTO, a lot of those jobs probably the path for your life. Like, I'll be honest, I'm 40 years old right now, but if I get that next job that's paying me like pretty good amount of money, I'm happy with, stay there long term, and if my higher income, or maybe the company will pay for me to get my degree, I'll go back to school part-time and get the computer science degree. But I'm going to do it once I have a job. You know what I mean? So yeah, listen, when someone says you don't need a college degree, it's like, you probably don't. You probably could get a job without it, or start your own business without it, but it helps. It carries a lot of weight. Don't let people that tell you that you don't need a college degree at the same time tell you that you don't need it. Like, if you have it, that's awesome. If you don't have it, it's just going to be 1,000 times harder to get the job that you want. I mean, you need to prove and show. Like, degrees matter, paper matters, on like it just the way it is. So don't get it, like, be like, oh, like, just because I don't need a degree to get a job doesn't mean that you don't need it. It's just very difficult to get a job. And people that sell courses, people that promote like, that lifestyle, like, you got to make $100,000. It's just because they're selling a course. Of course, they're going to sell your dream, right? Because everybody, like, think of all the Udemy courses you guys took and tell me, what is your percentage of completing one course from start to finish versus all the unfinished courses you have? I have so many courses. I probably completed 3% of my courses that I have. Sounds about right. I have over 200 classes. I probably completed like 7 or 6 courses from start to finish. So it's very, it's not easy, and so like these people that sell you the dream, they just want to sell courses because they know that most of you are not going to complete them. You're just going to keep buying one course after the other. And like, I don't want to rant about this but I will talk about, later. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for just jumping into, like, your amazing support just shows me that, like, I just appreciate all of you guys for being so kind and awesome today, and kind of like just supporting the channel. Like, I really appreciate it. I am gonna save this stream for later viewing. And by the way, guys, like, I'll do another 5 minutes. It is getting a little bit late here. It's almost 1 a.m. here. Any last questions, any last things that you guys want to talk, I'll do like 10, 15 minutes, whatever. I just got to wake up early tomorrow. But I love talking to you guys. This is amazing. Thank you guys so much. Yes, Hamza, yeah. You're like beating me already. You complete like 50% of a course. Some courses, I literally not even 10% in. Yes, smashing the like button helps the YouTube out. Thank you. You guys, thanks for getting my back. Man, guys, thank you so much. Like, you guys, like, it means so much to me. Like, all the positivity you guys throwing my way. Like, I'm some dude, on the internet who started late getting to web development, and I'm still in my journey. I wouldn't say I made it. I got a job. I'm still in the trenches with you guys. The struggle is real, and definitely amazing support from you guys, and I want to continue to give you the best value I can and keeping it real. And I see Paul is getting a postgrad diploma in IT part-time. That's awesome. Keep it up, man. Sorry about sick parents. That's terrible. I know how that could be. And, good luck with everything. Yeah, the struggle with Udemy courses is real. Like, nobody wants to tell the truth of how many courses they actually complete. But everybody's buying courses. Listen, I'm going to release a course, but it's going to come with a warning. It's going to say, like, I know you people not going to complete most of the course, so be aware when you buy it, Yeah, you got to grind. Got to grind. Yes, I do have LinkedIn. I'm going to shoot my email for this channel. So email me, and I'll put my LinkedIn. I'll share with you guys. Also, hey, if you guys joining, I do have a Slack channel. I put a link earlier. So I'm going to put my email. Email me if you want me to put you to the Slack. I want to make it more active. It's not too active right now. But yeah, and then on Slack or via email, I'll connect with you guys on LinkedIn. Not saying that you guys not going to hack my LinkedIn, but I'll give you my email. Listen, I'm Russian, and I get accused of being a hacker. And I'm like, bro, I've been in America for a long time. I'm more American than Russian at this point. But yeah, let me put my email here. So if you want the LinkedIn, invite or connect with me via email, go ahead and do so. And any other last, actually, I'll hang out with you guys. You know what? It's fun. I don't mind. I'll be tired tomorrow. That's fine. While you guys keep the comments coming, I'll keep talking to you guys. This is awesome. I'm having so much fun. You guys, I could do this forever, but no, like, I gotta make sure that, I do all the other stuff too. Yeah, yeah. Adrian just recently joined my Slack channel. Yeah, it's like, I like to be really nice with people all the time, but it's hard because, like, percentage-wise, it's like how many people actually finish the things that they say they're gonna do. Majority of my life has been a failure, right? And there's few things that I seen through the end. So it's like common nature for people to not be able, like, just like fade out, not complete. Like, life changes, circumstances changes. So, like, yeah, the Slack channel right now doesn't, like, it has a bunch of people, but not everybody communicates. Maybe, like, I have 8 people there right now. Maybe like 4 people are active who actively are continuing this journey of becoming a programmer. And listen, I'm going to support everybody, and the Slack channel link, hit me up on the email. I'm not as computer savvy. I just put my email. It's codingafter30@gmail.com. I'll add you to the Slack. I'm just afraid to open Slack right now. Actually, hold on. If the stream breaks, we know who to blame. No, I'm just teasing. But let me see if I could open Slack and send you the link. Maybe. I hope I don't break anything. I hope not. I'll post the link straight up. You know, 1 second. Okay, let's not prematurely end this. Slack. I want to add people. Oh boy. Okay, add. Yeah, see, on my phone it's super easy to add people. On my computer, I'm like, why is it so complicated? The name of the Slack channel is Coding After 30 Coaching, but let me try to figure out how to do this link. You guys are all gonna laugh at me. The guy doesn't know how to use Slack on his computer. I use it on my phone. Oh boy, the pressure, the stress. Okay, let's see, preferences, tools, invite people. Copy invite link. I got this. Look at this. Let's see if it works. Oh my God, that's the ugliest link I've ever seen. All right, that's the Slack link, guys. Hopefully it works. And go from there. So there's the Slack. Paul, totally agree with you on Udemy courses. And I'm being straight up honest. One day I want to make my own course, but hopefully it'll be great and amazing. But yeah, some Udemy courses I hit or miss. And so I stick with like the safe bets, like Brad Travesty or somebody else. Like so, I'm going to review some of the courses I took. And there's a lot of other different resources. One resource that I'm going to tell you, this is one place that I really enjoy taking courses. It's a monthly payment, and sometimes like, you know, $25 a month, it adds up. But I like Pluralsight. The reason why I like Pluralsight, because none of their courses are made by people like me from the internet there. They're made, and nothing's wrong with that, by the way. I want to be that dude that makes a course, you know. But people on Pluralsight, they're professionals in their fields from big companies, and they're the ones who are teaching you the courses. So, you know, you getting quality stuff there. And also like reaching out to individuals, like Wes Boss has some good courses. They do get pricey sometimes. Or Front-End Masters, another place which is great because they all are professionals in their field that also do courses or workshops. But Udemy is great for beginners, especially starting out. And I still feel you could learn enough from Udemy to be able to at least break into the field. But I would definitely suggest other resources like Pluralsight, you know, courses by someone like Wes Boss or Tyler McGinnis, or even, you know, Front-End Masters and stuff like that. Even LinkedIn has some good courses, but, you know, it all starts to adds up. But I do take a lot of Udemy courses as well. So, yeah, Paul, good point. You know, any other questions, anything else, you know, that you guys want to talk about? Like, you know, since we got, you know, let's do another 10 minutes. Another 10 minutes. I'm going to go strong. I could literally stay up all night talking to you guys. You guys have been amazingly brilliant. Really appreciate the support. But let's do another 10 minutes. I'm going to make hard stop 10 minutes because if I don't, I will keep talking to you guys all night. So let me know any last comments, any last suggestions. Do I use GSAP? I'm not familiar what that stands for. Oh, Gulp or Webpack. There you go. So Webpack 1, I think I've done a project with Gulp a while ago. I think Webpack is the thing nowadays. To be honest with you though, I don't set up anything from scratch. Like when I work with React, if I do regular React, I do create like npm create React, you know, that sets everything up for you. Or if I do like Next.js, I do npx. Like, so I'll use those quick setup guides because it is the easiest way to do. And as you become like better, like as you get comfortable, you already have a job, then you could jump in with Webpack. At my company, our environment was set up for us, so I didn't have to mess around with it. But for a person, like if I were to do something, it would definitely be Webpack. Awesome, join Slack, fantastic. What I do at my job? So I work for a medical company. We create a management system for hospitals to manage their employees, their patients, and they're able to, and like their billing and prescription. It's a huge app, big app. And at my job, I create the front-end views and I write the logic that basically communicates with their API that's written in ASP.NET with C#. Like, I had to start learning C#. I don't know how I feel about it, but if I'm at a job working and they ask me to learn C#, I'm going to learn C#. But yeah, so I work mostly on the front end and do some edits in the back end with C#. Because it's a small company, they kind of expect you to do that. But I know in bigger companies, they'll have their designated front-end people, designated UI people, designated back-end people, designated whatever. But yeah, so that's what I do mostly with React, and that's what I want to continue to do, stay in the realm of React and JavaScript. Yeah. So, Paul, yeah, great question. So here's one problem with regular React. For apps, for like backends, like basically, I'm drawing a blank. Basically, if you're building something internal or like a dashboard for like a backend or like something that your employee is going to use, something that a company is going to use that doesn't need SEO, doesn't need to be found online, then React is great. But if you're building something that needs SEO, you definitely need to work with Gatsby.js if it's like a blogging site, or Next.js. Next.js is more flexible. That's actually a project that I'm working on right now in my personal, for my personal projects, is I'm working with Next.js. I think that's something I'm going to start doing from now on, because most of the applications that we will make, especially if it's, for clients and for small businesses or even big businesses that need SEO, you need to provide that for them, and React out of the box just doesn't have it. That's why you need to use Next.js, and Gatsby.js is great if it's like a blog site or like a small, e-commerce store. But if it's something like, bigger than that, like I would definitely say Next.js. So if you've done React, the good news, jumping into Next.js is not that difficult. Gatsby is a little bit harder because they use GraphQL to get all their data. And if you're not familiar with GraphQL, that's a whole other thing to learn. Next.js, you could, it's a little bit easier, I would say. Let's look at the comments here. Yeah, I'll definitely, Adrian, start reviewing courses. I've been meaning to do that. And what's interesting, yeah, I'll do different ones for sure outside of Travesty. I just can't argue with like a pretty good course. Like his courses are pretty good. But I'll start doing that. And believe it or not, my most viewed video on YouTube is the one where I talked about Udemy courses, because people are searching for that, and they'll help, like, just from outside of the value that my review will provide to you, it will actually help me grow my channel faster, because a lot of people are searching like best web dev courses on Udemy for web development. So yeah, I'll definitely do more of those. Maybe for my next video, I'll do that. All right, apart from Brad Travesty, what Udemy course I like? I like John Smigla. Like, he has a bunch of project-based courses. Is he the most exciting person to listen to? I think he is. He has like a dry humor that I find really funny, but he's just kind of like dry, and he goes through. But his tutorials are really good. Another thing with John Smigla, I think it's Coding Addict on YouTube. Coding Addict on YouTube. John Smigla on Udemy. He has some good courses. They're pretty good. I like his JavaScript project course and his React project course. Took both of those. Fantastic courses. There are a bunch of other ones I like. Off the top of my head, though, I'm not sure. Like Cold Steel Stuff and Andre something. They have good courses, except some of them, they jump into too many technologies at once, and it becomes overwhelming when you're a beginner. The one that comes top of my head is like Mastery React by Andre Nayagan, whatever, I can't pronounce his last name. It's a great course, but if you're a beginner, it's tough. He covers like Redux, Saga, bunch of other stuff, and it's just overwhelming. So yeah, definitely some courses to watch out for, and depending where you're at. Let's look at the comments. Yeah, Paul, man, you're definitely smarter than I am. C# is, if you're coming from, like, it is, like, what I would say about that, like, if you're already, like, coming from JavaScript, they already know one language, picking up C# is a little bit easier, or if you're learning C# from start to finish. I would say the hard part for me with C# is learning ASP.NET and everything else that you could do with it. It's just basically learning the framework, I would say. But as the language, yeah, it is like pretty straightforward, and I like it a lot. I like C# as a language a lot, and sometimes for fun I play around in Unity, just writing little game scripts for fun. But I use it at work too. Yeah, C#, like so for me, like I'm committing to learning React, JavaScript my main language, and C# is definitely my backend language. And if I were to learn another language after that, it would be Python. And I did get a contract opportunity that I'm starting, and their backend is in Python, so I am going to start learning Python for that job. And I actually did start learning Python with Django for that job, but it's just particular in that case. DevEd, yep, courses are good, definitely. There's plenty of channels. There's definitely not enough resources on YouTube. Like, there's definitely plenty of resources on YouTube to learn stuff from. So there's never shortage. The hardest part a lot of times with YouTube instructors is just finding the courses that like guide you in a very structured way. That's why I'm a big proponent of paying for courses, because I enjoy the structure from it. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of places. Yep, Andrew Meets Modern JavaScript, have that course. Excellent course. Listen, I'm not even making this up. When I tell you I have all the courses on Udemy of all the popular and somewhat popular instructors, it is true. Like one day, I don't want to break the feed right now, but I'll set up my stream next time to be able to share my screen much easier, and I'll show you my Udemy accounts to show you that all the classes I have. So what I would say when you're learning from Udemy, it will literally like take 3 courses: HTML, CSS, JavaScript, React, if that's your thing. If you're doing, your C#, take like bunch of C# classes, like 3 only, and then just start building stuff. Eventually you're going to get to a point where I wanted to go back like for 2021 and make a goal for myself to finish at least all the popular classes I have on Udemy. And so I started going through all the Udemy courses, and it's the same thing from as the last course I took. 80% is the same material, same stuff. And like I stopped because every course I'll now look at the outline. I'm like, yep, know this. This was a this course. I don't need. And so like the biggest issue with Udemy is that it's just repetitive stuff, maybe slight variation. But if you just get the basics down with like 2, 3, 4, 5 classes at most, courses on Udemy, start building stuff, and you'll find out that you're going to reach a point that you're getting benefit from literally from reading, hey Paul, thanks for being on the channel, and thanks for the support, and have a good night, and I'll catch you next time. Adrian, same here, thanks a lot. I see some of you guys getting, have to go. I totally get it, and in a few minutes I'm gonna go too. I did make that hard stop. So with that, guys, with that being said, like, I'm gonna say good night, good morning, wherever you are, but I want to thank you so much. I didn't think my first stream would do so well. I mean, we had most viewers, 17 people at once concurrently. This was amazing. I thank you for your support. If you've joining the stream late, I'm going to make sure that it's public for you guys to be able to view it afterwards and see the whole thing. And like, just can't thank you guys enough. Thank you so much. And again, don't be strangers in the comments when you watch my videos. And when let me know your questions, things that you're thinking about. I would love to, help you as best I can. And please know, by no means I'm no expert. I'm just like you, learning. And I'm pretty sure some of you guys here at certain things have more experience than I do, and we could all help each other as a community and grow together. So with that being said, guys, I guess I'm going to end it here. Thank you so much. And I will see you guys next time. I'm going to commit to doing this live stream Friday nights. It's fine if I stay up and not sleep, so I'll probably keep it. It's 1 a.m. right now, just to put in perspective where you guys are. I probably will do like a late night stream, like 12 a.m., 11 a.m. And then eventually, as my channel grows, I'll find another time for the people that can't stay up that late. But for now, let's set Friday, 12 a.m. And the last question, do you know Node.js? That's the beauty of learning JavaScript, is that Node.js is very easy to pick up once you know JavaScript, because it is JavaScript. So that's one thing that, like, I kind of feel if you're learning JavaScript, it's much easier to dive into Node.js and become a full stack developer, because you're doing everything in the same language. And so before I go, smash the like button. Thanks so much. If you guys joined the stream late, just watch it at another time. 3 a.m. Awesome. It's good times, man. That's like a party time. 3 a.m. man. It's like 6:01. My goodness. Fantastic. So this is a perfect time. I think I'll do streaming at 12 to 1 for now, for sure. And then I'll figure out another time that hits the different hemisphere. But answering that, question for like my personal goals for myself is stick with JavaScript technologies, become a master at React, and basically slowly start getting into backend with Node.js. Unless I'm working at a job where I'm currently working, where they're like, no, we're not using Node, we're using C#. So they're kind of twisting my arm to learn C#. So I'm going to learn what I'm getting paid for. But for personal projects, I'm doing everything JavaScript, Node.js, and everything else. Hey guys, thank you so much again for everything. Leave cool comments. By the way, if you guys, I really appreciate your support. And if you want to help out this channel grow, and listen, by going back to my videos and watching as many of them as you can, and leaving comments and liking my videos, definitely helps the algorithm. And again, if you just tuning in, unfortunately this is the end of the stream, but the good news, I did record it. I'm going to make it public. We talked a lot of great stuff here, and it was fantastic. And if you're more into hardware, man, I just reading these comments, I'm like, man, this is so addicting. I can't stop. That's awesome too. That's fantastic. Anyway, a hard stop. I said 10 minutes. I lied. I'm 3 minutes over. I love talking, guys, to you so much. Thank you so much. This is it. Final goodbye, guys. I'm not kidding this time. Thank you guys so much for everything. And with that being said, I'll see you guys next stream and next YouTube channel video. Coding After 30, signing off. Wow.